Those lips that love's own hand did make breathed forth the sound that said, I hate, to me that languished for her sake. But when she saw my woeful state, straight in her heart did mercy come, chiding that tongue that, ever sweet, was used in giving gentle doom, and taught it thus anew to greet. I hate, she altered with an end that followed it as gentle day doth follow night, who like a fiend from heaven to hell is flown away. I hate, from hate away she threw, and saved my life, saying, not you. I've gone in order with the sonnets so far, but I wanted to save this one for the end. This is my favorite sonnet. What can I say? I have a special affection for misfits, and this, in many ways, is the misfit of the sonnets. First off, you might notice it's the only sonnet Shakespeare wrote that isn't in iambic pentameter. It's in iambic tetrameter. They're only 4 feet per line instead of 5. Now, I have a theory about that. I can't prove it, but I think that's because this is one of the earliest sonnets that Shakespeare wrote, and he was still experimenting and perfecting the form. But also, this is the only sonnet out of all 154 that is not written to either the fair youth or the dark lady. It falls in the dark lady sequence, but it isn't written to her. It's written to someone else entirely, and we know that because he puns on her name in the final couplet. I hate, from hate away she threw. Hate away in the Elizabethan dialect would have sounded very similar to the pronunciation of the name Hathaway, as in Anne Hathaway. Anne saved my life, saying, not you. Yes, out of all 154 sonnets, this is the only one that Shakespeare wrote to his wife. I know, crazy plot twist, he was married the whole time. Poor Anne. You know, as with a lot of Shakespeare's life, we don't know a lot about their marriage. We don't know a lot about their relationship. We do know a few things. First off, she was 8 years older than he was. When they got married, he was 18 and she was 26. Also, they had their first child 6 months after their wedding, so we can kind of assume that maybe probably it was a shotgun wedding. And there have been times when I've been working on Shakespeare's plays when I've come across a few passages that just I can't help but read them as autobiographical, and I want to share 2 of them with you. First, in the play The Winter's Tale, there's a character called the Old Shepherd, and he has this line: I would there were no age between 10 and 3 and 20, or 23, or that youth would sleep out the rest, for there is nothing in the in-between but getting wenches with child, wronging the ancientry, stealing, fighting. Well, we know that that's what Shakespeare did. He got a wench with child when he was between 10 and 3 and 20. And also in the play Twelfth Night, there's a scene where Viola, disguised as Cesario, is speaking to Orsino and saying that she is in love with an older woman. And Orsino says, then let thy love be younger than thyself, or thy affection cannot hold the bent. For women are as roses, whose fair flower, being once displayed, doth fall that very hour. That's a terrible thing to say when you are writing that and have a wife who's 8 years older than you are. Now, whether that was meant as, affectionate and teasing, or whether that was really resentful, who knows? But Anne might have never even seen that because she was off in Stratford raising the kids while he was in London writing his plays. But we do know that they had somewhat of an affectionate relationship. Oh yeah, they had 3 children. So Susanna, who was their oldest daughter, and then a set of fraternal twins, a daughter named Judith and a son named Hamnet. Yes, that's right, Hamnet, not Hamlet, Hamnet with an N. And Hamnet died when he was very young. He was 9, 10, 11 maybe. We assume of the plague. And it's hard not to read into the fact that Shakespeare wrote his most famous play and called it a name very similar to the name of his son who died. Also, the play Twelfth Night is about a set of fraternal twins where the daughter thinks that she's lost her brother at sea, and then she's reunited with him at the end. It's hard not to speculate that, I don't know, maybe he wrote that for his daughter after she lost her twin brother. But also, again, there seems to have been some affection in Shakespeare's relationship with Anne. He still went back to see her in the summers in Stratford, and they lost a child together, which is huge. And in his will, he very famously left her his second best bed. Now, that can be read as a slight, that he didn't leave her his first best bed, or in the Elizabethan households, the best bed went to the guest. It was in the guest bedroom. The second best bed would have been the marriage bed, so he could have left it to her for sentimental reasons. Anyway, in this sonnet, it seems to be autobiographical, and we don't know what they were fighting about, but they were in the middle of a fight, and she said to him, or she was about to say to him, "I hate you." But midway through the sentence, she caught the look in his eye and saw how absolutely devastated he was. And she added one word that changed everything. Instead of "I hate you," she said, "I hate not you." And Shakespeare says that that saved his life. Now, I've read criticism of this sonnet, that this is one of Shakespeare's slightest works. Doesn't that sound so snooty, slightest? Maybe it's not as sophisticated as some of his other sonnets, but I love how raw and vulnerable and youthful this sonnet is. Again, they must have had somewhat of an affectionate relationship to write a sonnet like this. And I appreciate seeing early Shakespeare. I appreciate seeing where he came from. So for all those reasons, and then some, this is maybe my favorite sonnet, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope you enjoyed all of these sonnets. When I set out to do this, I was originally just going to do 30 in 30 days, because that's how long the theaters were going to be closed. Little did I know what we were in for. I still don't really know what we're in for. But these sonnets ended up being a lifeline for me. There were days when I was so depressed that getting my sonnet recorded was the only thing I accomplished that day. But it gave me something to do, and it ended up being exactly what I needed. My goodness. There's something very cathartic about going through Shakespeare's love sonnets when you're depressed or down and out or have a broken heart. We turn to art because it makes us feel less alone. And I, like a lot of people right now, I am completely alone, and I'm very grateful to Shakespeare for sharing his soul with me and keeping me company through all this. And I hope you've enjoyed them too at home. I wanted to put more love out into the world. That was really my main goal. I wanted to put more love out into the world. And I'm going to continue doing that in whatever way I can. And I hope you do too. So anyway, that's all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you all. Stay safe. Bye.